to Galvanize physically, remotely. You are about to witness some amazing React-based full-stack apps that are capstone projects for the Gulls, which is one of our current cohorts here at Galvanize. So they're getting ready to finish up. They're pushing into some new languages and new technologies, and they'll be finishing their time at Galvanize in about a month. But this represents a capstone of all their learning in terms of backend and front end and React. And I'm personally very, very proud and very, very humbled by the projects. And without further ado, we'll get right into it. So I'm gonna hand it over to our first group. Let's give a warm welcome to Beer Me.
Hey guys, my name is John Reamer, Carl Corsini. This is our React project called Beer Me. So the problem we're aiming to solve, most importantly, John and I love beer way too much. Pause for laughter. All right, moving along. So we're always looking for new beers, and there's a lot of beers out there, but it's just kind of hard to keep track of all of them. So we wanted to create kind of a simple and easy way to navigate through all the beers and breweries in the world, and just kind of organize it, put it on your phone, be able to check them out. The technologies that we used to build this project on the front end, React and Redux, semantic UI for framework, and JavaScript. The back end was Node.js, Express, Postgres for our database and connects. And then for testing both front and back end, we use Mocha and Jest. So here we're going to go over our schema just to see how all the data is going to work in our app. The three main tables, we have the user table, the brewery table, and the beers. And we just kind of need to make a way that all of these are related to each other. So each beer obviously belongs to a brewery, so we created this beer brewery join table, which takes the primary keys from each of these tables, as well as the users are able to favorite beers. So this is kind of this circle of love, we call it here. All right, we're going to go through a nice little demo for you. First off, this is our landing page. It's the first page that you see when you access the site. Bottom, you have cards to search beers or breweries. Let's search for a beer. You could filter by style. I like IPAs. So let's type in IPA, see all the IPAs we have. You also favorite a beer. If you see a beer that you like, and you forgot to add it to your profile, so favorite. You'll add it to your favorites on your profile. Once we go to our profile, these are all of Carl's favorites. And the new beers populate that we just favorited as well. And a nice little tidbit about the beer that comes up when you click on a beer card. So now we're going to search by brewery. Let's search in San Francisco. All the breweries pop up that we have. We can click on 21st Amendment, and all the beers at 21st Amendment populate as well with some basic contact info for that brewery. Now, we were just out the other week. We had this awesome beer from Anchor called San Francisco. Highly recommended IPA. Let's add that to our profile. So excited. And once everything is filled out on the form and you hit submit, that will populate on your profile as well as under that brewery's name. It was very important for us, as you can see, once you go to Anchor, there you go, there from Psycho. It was very important for us to make this responsive, functional on a mobile screen as well. I don't bring my laptop up to bars or breweries to add beers that I like, so it's a lot easier just pop out your phone and add one. So let's try and find that beer that we just added. So now we can search by name. And type in San Francisco, and there it is. Cool. So now for the exciting part, we'll go over some code snippets. So right here, this is all backend code. We've tried to tackle sort of a new style of MVC models using controllers for talking to the database and handling that data. So right here are a couple of super classes that we kind of instantiate throughout the app. So they're kind of just generic classes that you can see. This is the controller, and the repository is sort of what we used to call the model. This is where it actually talks to the database and makes some connects calls. You can see we have a get all, we have a create, and they can pull in some data. So this is the database, this is going to be the entity name. So it might be something like users, it might be something like beers. This just makes it really quick and easy whenever you want to make a new service. So right here, this is our user service. Has a little bit of creating a user, hash password, and a little bit of authentication. And this is the instantiation right here. You can see we require this user repository, which comes here. The entity name is called user, and the database is called database. Or the database is the default database, which just talks to the connects file and finds out where our Postgres database is living. And here's just the controller. You can see our routes from which the front end can grab the data, pass it back. So this just, it was complicated at first, but once you want to add more services and add more items to your database, you can quickly sort of just instantiate it for breweries or beers or whatever you want to do. Our challenges and successes, as Carl mentioned, learning new technology, specifically React and Redux. We were exposed to that just over a month ago, and we only had 2 to 3 weeks to implement that new technology into this project. And then also the new MVC file structure. That was quite difficult. It made finding the routes that all the data took quite challenging, and then which also related to debugging. That was difficult as well because of all the files that we had. Authentication, that goes without saying that that's just difficult as it is. And then a simple idea that we had to create a beer app was not simple to code. Our successes, we worked very well as a team. Communication, pretty much every day, what we're adding, what we're working on, and that related to our Git workflow. Very little merge conflicts. We pushed and made pull requests, and also new technology. It was a challenge at first, but we turned that into a success, and very happy about it. And then some future features, we want to have just a little bit more community involvement, like being able to follow other users, review beers, and see what other people have to say about those beers and breweries. OAuth 2.0, so we can log in on Facebook. We kind of had an idea to do like a virtual beer tour with the Google Maps API. We'd like to implement that, and then maybe eventually a beer and brewery recommendation feature. Cheers, everyone. What's up? Cheers. Any questions? All right. Let's nail it. Please, someone ask a question.
What was your favorite part of doing this whole project? One of the two.
I would say that my favorite part was just I love beer, so I just I would use this No, every weekend.
Yeah, let me read. What was the favorite part of this that you worked on? Like, what was your favorite? That's good.
My favorite part was doing all the research into different breweries, seeing what's out there, seeing what funky beer that people are brewing. So that was pretty interesting.
And I guess for me it was Redux is really cool once you figure out how it works. To have sort of like a living, breathing app and being able to make an action that changes the state and will update the app real time. That was kind of like a breakthrough. Like, wow, we're making actual apps right now instead of this. It just felt like definitely the next step. So that was exciting.
What's one piece of information you would share with the next cohort that you think they should know going in before they start?
Let's see.
Or start this project specifically.
Yeah. That React is tough at first, and so is Redux. But so is everything. The first time that you look at it, it looks like a foreign language. But React is really awesome. And so don't be afraid at first when you start to learn it, because it's just like, remember everything that you just learned for the past 2 months? Okay, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to use a framework that's going to do all that for you. And at first it seems like it takes longer and it's a lot harder. But eventually you realize, like, now we can take all these components that we made and we can use them in a different app. So it just makes everything really like separated and modular and very cool. Thanks, Fix.
I have a question going off that question. So, what if you made this app or something without React? So, what are the components that you of React that made it better?
Yeah, totally.
React kind of does a lot of the CSS for you, a lot of the styling. It's once you, for me, like once you make one component, it's a lot easier to make all the other components because it's pretty much the same. If you figure out exactly how you want that component to look, pretty much the same probably. So if you can nail one, you can nail it all.
Which has scaled things up much more.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that's a good one. And then just the way that it handles, it separates logic from like styling. There's just a lot of like awesome built-in libraries, and Redux is something that kind of handles data coming through the app and changing the app while it's live. And I could not imagine doing that without like a front-end framework like this, like writing some logic that would be able to handle that and update stuff. That's pretty amazing.
All right, let's give one more. We'll just give Sophia a moment to get set up, and when she's ready, we can walk. All right, looks like Sophie's almost ready to go, so let's give a nice round of applause for Smart So my application is called Smart. Practice investing in people. So the problem in America is that the inflation rate is at 2.54%, and the average savings interest rate is 0.5%. Hence, you're losing value on your money every time you invest in a savings account. So you should practice investing. Be more exposed to it, you gain more experience with it, so when you invest in real life, you be more prepared. And it's accurate. That's why you should invest in me, my money. Because it's consistently updating at its latest price. It's updating in a minute, and there's no risk. Because you're not risking your money, you're just practicing.
And it's fun. It's like gambling with Monopoly money. The technology is used here is like, for front end, we use React, CSS, ES6, Walmart. Back end, MVC, Express, Connects, and Postgres. This is my ERD, my schema. So the dividend transactions, dividends is not used. It will be a future features. Only 5 tables are utilized here. The users tables, the holdings tables, stocks, transactions, and holding snapshots. So one user has many holdings, one holding has many stocks, and transactions has many stocks. One user has transactions. One user also has holding snapshots. Down the time. This is the landing page of my website. So you practice investing, you save, you invest, and you live life with performance. And search in this button allows you to search for like, your favorite companies. So one of my favorite companies is Amazon, Alibaba, because I love e-commerce, and also like Nvidia because it's a future AI company. Logging in as a here, Kayla has all these stocks here, and she's like, wait, I want to buy a share. Oh, I want to sell a share. Let's sell this one. But she can't because under my share, there's no AMD. However, she can buy it. So she can buy one. Now she can sell it because she has one. This is all of her transactions. And this is what she has profited. And the percentage at the bottom shows how much money she has profited over the course of a few days. This is available cash. And then the original investment, how much she has profited, the net worth. The net worth consists of current cash plus total holdings. And now the debt was over. Now I'm going to talk about the code. So when you want to buy a share, click on buy right here, and it pops up with this modal. This is the parent modal. What happens is the parent modal communicates all of this information to the child's modal that will show later on, especially this one, this buy. And this buy function is once it's transferred, all the information is communicated to the child's modal, and information is sent back, goes to this function right here, and this function sends it back to the backend. This is the child's modal. And when you have access to the child's modal, you're typing the amount of shares you want to buy, the quantity amount of shares, and the total will pop up. That's what the on-change does. It's very responsive. It allows you to see the total right away. And using this function called capital total. And then once it's done, it goes through this line right here, return this process on submit. What I was talking earlier, stands the symbol of the share and the current and the input share's current value. And then now we're talking about the backend. It sends to the backend. To the router first, to the controller. And in this buy function, what it does is that it handles the errors. It makes sure the user has enough cash. It decreases the cash right here when you purchase the shares, and then afterwards it increment or create the share. For example, you have a share, it creates. If you are increasing that amount of share, you increase the quantity of that share. Creates this transaction, sends it back to the client. This is my favorite part. I actually worked hard and long trying to figure this out. And it turns out that I was just basically looking for bugs. It was never there. So .decrement, what it does is that it decreases the cache in this case, but it has a bug. So it cannot deal with floating numbers. So instead, I have to use a raw query. And that's the end of my presentation. Safe investing.
how much of like which stocks can you buy, which you?
So the API has 8,345 shares. Basically all American shares and everything listed in American indices.
What API is that?
It's called EIEX, and I can send you that API. In Masha.
Yeah, I was just wondering how long you were stuck on the like floating point increment issue. Just not to put you on the spot, but because I'd like everyone to kind of understand that sometimes you get stuck and that's totally normal and that's part of the process. So
Pretty much the entire day. And then it's going around circles. Yes.
And then how did you find out?
I got some help and I found out.
It was just like I've heard of this, or did you dogs?
Through many years of experience.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Are there any examples of closure in your code or ways that you made the variables private to keep you from altering how much money they supposedly made?
I'll think about it.
Do you add how much money like you have to invest, or is there like how does that work?
So everyone starts with 20 grand because I think that's the most reasonable amount. Like what I don't want to say the average person has, but like the average person that the average person that has like extra cash. And I was thinking 10,000, but I think 20,000.
Do you think is that a fixed rate, or can I change like one
Currently,
day I'll be rich and I'll be like I want to practice investing $100,000?
it's currently at 20,000, but I'm thinking maybe in the future I could probably change it. Yeah. Maybe I give them the option.
cool. All right, let's give one more round of applause. Give the next group just a moment to set up. All right, looks like they're ready to go. So let's give a warm welcome to SnapTrail.
So my name is Justin Chow, and this is Rob Safarius, and this is our SnapTrail's React Capstone. So the problem we were trying to solve is that, well, we like to hike, and I'm pretty sure you all like to hike after a long day of coding. And so where's the fun? We wanted to implement a web application that has a hiking specific theme, so you can post your trails and also see all these kinds of markers of all the trails that the users have ever posted. And we just wanted to, our goal was to create this clean and simple UI for our users to use. So let's go through this demo. So when you log in, it takes you to your profile. And in your profile, it shows all your posts, and you can also update your posts, update your user image on your profile. And since it's your profile, you can go ahead and delete your post. So let's go ahead and create another one. And so let's go to the feed. So in the feed, it shows the most recent posts. and it shows the user image, name of the user, timestamp of when it was created, location, description, image. And then we have this comment section where you can click it and it drops down. And then in it, it shows all the comments and you can make as much comments as you want. But the button for like and dislike, it toggles. So you can like and dislike.
So over there we create a function for searching. So whenever you start typing, you guys into each post with the location. So Zion, it pulls up the post. We get a Google API. And then whenever you click on the bottom, we have a function that generates the name of the function when you click on it. Whenever we click over here, we have a toggle that is switched for making a post. So user can make a post, pass a image URL, description, and location. And whenever the user clicks on the map, it fixes a marker on it, and it saves a latitude and longitude. And whenever that happens, it clicks down, and it saves, and when you click submit, it makes a post, so you can see that Justin is logging. He just made that post right now, a few seconds ago. And if you also have a toggle there, like it shows the map, all the images the user wants to see. Location he just posted. Any comment? If he goes to his profile page, it shows the post that he just made. And log out. Pretty much it for searching.
Now we step into
as a dynamic and Git workflow. Since we wanted to start the app, the first thing we wanted to do is implement the Google Map API. So the users can make the post or get the location from the post. We also want to make the app secure and has the data. We always allow the user making a post if it's a login and it's authenticated and authorized to do it. Authorized. We decided to work with React Router and redux to manage through the data through the store. The success we create a GitHub repo and prevent merging master with the master and force ourselves to look each other codes so we can rebuild. We also create a broad table where we use the user stories and edit our bugs so we can work on the next day. We can constantly discuss if it's what is our progress and blockers, and we pet program a lot. As a wire framework, since when we started to build the app, we went to whiteboarding and draw a lot to see what we want to look at it. We took like a LinkedIn that we want to scroll down without moving the page inside. And data structure, we choose to work with the SQL database. That was it.
And so our schema, we have 4 tables. So we have users, posts, comments, and likes. So the user can make many posts, and the joining of the user to many. So the user can make many posts, and the post can have many users through likes and comments. So let's talk about code. So on this profile page, you can update your profile image through the box over here. Box right here. You can enter in the image URL to change your image, and then it'll change these components over here, the profile card, post image, and then your actual navigation image. And then on the right, you can delete your post. And when you hover over the X, it will show you in information. So to let the user know if they want to delete it or not. our map, it shows all of the trails that all the users has ever posted. And so the orange box shows it goes through each post and saves the latitude and longitude of each post, and then dynamically inserts these markers onto the map. And then the green box, when you click on a marker, it will show this info window and then the name of the location.
Over here, we have this function, map on click, that it fixes whenever you want to make the post that I was saying. When the user drop the marker, it saves the latitude, the longitude, fits into, and mark the position of the latitude and longitude. And these other two functions over here is about the comments. Whenever the user making a comment, is we map through all the comments and we pass the comments ID, comment the user's image, and username, and create an ad. So that's all the information data being passed over here. Over here is all handle comment submit. That is whenever the user making a comment, and click on it, saves that comment, and grab all the information from the user. Also, we create the comment. The function we get from backend and generate the comments. We work with the technology stacks React Redux, Kinect, and Postgres for database. We use Semantic UI and Node, Mockshai, and Jazz for the front end for the React tests.
So for the amount of time that we have, we couldn't implement everything, but we have future features. So some of the things we wanted to do to one, add labels. So to define the trail as a moderate hike, hard, dog friendly, regular post if you want. We also wanted to have this implement this thing where you click on the marker and it will collect the geolocation of that trail to gather up all these pictures that relates to the trail and show it as an album. Users, we want to implement users to visit other profiles. So far, you can only go to your Google profile, and then want to implement some other kind of authentication like Facebook or Google login. And that is our stack trails.
You talk more about the like dislike toggle. Do you like it by default? It's like an interesting design choice. What you guys say to that?
Default, it's defaulted to show like, but you're not automatically liking it. So it's showing like, but you have increment toggle. You can take it back.
Is the point of that to have like people that are like have the best trails, like there's some sort of like leaderboard on like who you should follow that can show you like great places to visit? Is that why the upvote and downvote is in place?
Yeah, we wanted to have that there so people spam it. The same user can't spam it, so each user can only have one like.
As right now, we don't dislike. We just undo your like. We don't allow the user to make many likes.
How difficult was it working with Google Maps?
It was hard. Just putting a lot of that. You can speak more about it.
It was just more of the documentation, just trying to find that right amount of documentation and then actually working with code. I don't know for any of you guys, but for me, Rob, we just like to break it, and when you break it, you learn from it. And it was the documentation, so that break it, fix it, you are like.
Yes, I was gonna say, Justin, I don't know how you found time to make this awesome app, but also helping so just wondering how you get time for that.
How? I just do. If anyone asks me if I need problems, I'll just go ahead.
A lovely note to end on. Let's give one more round of applause. Give Betty a minute or two here to get set up. And then we can talk to her as well.
So that's what I used before.
Isn't the temperature right?
Yeah, I. So I'm not. What?
Justin.
Thank you, thank you.
It's on the other side.
Oh, sorry, it's not, no.
Yeah.
It's wrong.
No, that's correct.
On the top, on the top.
Oh, that's sorry.
Looks like Betty's almost ready to go. Let's give her a round of applause.
Hi, my name is Betty. Welcome to Foodie Me. What is Foodie Me? Foodie Me actually is a job for the real foodies who can write reviews and share their reviews. Real foodies are those who care about foods and really know what good foods are. Okay, the problem I'm going to solve is, think about it. When you try to find a restaurant, where do you go? Yelp, right? Including me. But then there are thousands of reviews on Yelp. You don't know who the real foodies are. It's hard to find quality reviews on restaurants. And businesses that advertise on Yelp can move the positive reviews to the top of the list. And also, Yelp can hide bad reviews. So actually, I really see a real case. So there are conflicts of interest. So reading the reviews from the real foodies will save you time and money to locate a good restaurant. Major features. Some users can write reviews and tweet out reviews. Anybody, including those visitors, not signed-up members, can vote on the reviews. People can vote up or down vote the review. And who write a good amount of quality reviews can gain a status called United Foodie. So let's look at a demo. So user Betty log into her page, and she can see her profile, edit profile, and the list of her favorite restaurants saved here. So on the map, all the favorite restaurants are displayed on the map. So Betty has four favorite restaurants on the West Coast and the East Coast. So I want to locate a restaurant. Yaoi. So locate. And yeah, this is where a lot is Cupertino. I think in Cupertino anyway. So when you hover over it, you can see all the restaurants in this area. Okay. So I also can read my own review, of course. I can edit, delete, and also tweet out my review. Let's go back to the home page. And okay, I can also sort my reviews by time, latest first, oldest first, or display all the restaurants. Okay, the other day I went to a restaurant in New York. I really like it. Let me search for it. It's a French restaurant in New York. Oh, I see it. It's last 3. Okay, so for those on the list, you can see the red card already. I think on my favorite. So go back. And it's on my list now. Okay, notice that I haven't followed any users yet. So I would like to look at the Japanese restaurant in Cupertino, my hometown, and see other people's review. Okay, got you. I wrote a review on this restaurant, but I also want to look at other people's review. Oh, Hello Kitty wrote a review on Gotchi. I totally agree with what she said. That's a good restaurant. Okay. I can go up or go down on her review or tweet her review. I really like her taste of food, so I go to her page. Let's see. So she really likes Japanese foods. Oh, she's following me already. I would like to follow her too. Hello. Yay. Okay, I'm following her. And then I can go to her blog anytime I want to see her new update. So see the crowd here? I run this status because I wrote a good amount of quality reviews, and so that I gain that status. So I'm the foodie of foodies. You like food. So technologies used here: front-end JavaScript, React, Redux, CSS. I didn't use any libraries for styling. I prefer to still use CSS. I used a little bit for React Strap for the button and the form. Okay, for backend, it's Node.js, Express.js, Progressible, Hex, and g78WD token for application and optimization. So this is my schema. Okay, you can see that there's a many-to-many relationship here because one user can favorite many restaurants, and one restaurant can be favored by many users. So there's a user response table to handle this relationship. And also because we have a user can follow many users, and one user can follow by many users. So there's a follow table to handle that challenge. Since you can see that members can look at each other's page. You see, everybody's page is basically the same except for the different list of favorite restaurants. Okay, so how to handle that? Solution. Keep a current login user and display user in the state. So this is the code. So every login user has a token in the local storage. And in the token, you can retrieve the username, right? And actually, each block has its own customized URL and with the username. So here, when the username on the URL and the token, username in the token match, that means I'm looking at my page. So do something, get my information. If not, that means I'm browsing other people's page or I'm a visitor looking at the pages. Feature features. There'll be ranking of foodies. There'll be different level of foodies. Everybody will strive to get high status like foodies and get rewarded with gold crown. Users can locate restaurants in the midpoint of the location. Say a group of users want to go together to explore these restaurants in the midpoint. So I can locate that. I already know how to code that. It's very interesting. Funny. It's fun. Thank you.
Sure. Like, what is the selection criteria for elite foodies? Like, at what threshold does that cross over to get the crown?
Oh, to get the crown?
Yeah. Like,
yeah, it's really the quantity, also the votes you get from the review. Say you get 1,000 votes on the review, it's not a real foodie. We have to have a good amount. Say, well, we have to determine it. We determine it and use the algorithm to calculate. Okay, who will fulfill some criteria will get the crown.
I see. So it's not just based upon
raw
amount of votes, but it's also in conjunction with the amount.
Of restaurants.
All right, let's give one more round of applause. We'll give Brady a minute to get set up for our final presentation of the day. All right, Brady's ready. Let's give a warm applause.
Hi, I'm Brady, and I built music.love, your personalized music newsfeed. Problem that I've had for at least a decade is following all the different artists from all around the globe that I like, and I want to keep up on their new releases. And what I've been doing for a long time is just randomly Googling an artist's name when I think of it and seeing what they're up to and what they've released. And when I was keeping more track of music, I was making a text file with release dates of all the artists that I was following. But you know, a lot of stuff slips through the cracks that way. And my friends all have the same problem. So this is Spotify's notification settings. And as you can see, if you have all those selected, you would think that you would get notifications all the time. But my friends and other people on the internet, this is from the Spotify forums, have had issues for a long time with Spotify never sending any updates about the artists you follow. And this person says they've only received 2 or 3 emails ever, and the notification feature is 40% of the whole experience for them, and it's 100% useless. So there's the answers to that. In Spotify, there's a release radar playlist that you can follow, but this user also points out that the release radar is based on Spotify's algorithms where they pretty much choose what to show you. It doesn't just show you all your artist feed. So let's check out what I built to solve that problem. And I'm going to live dangerously and do a live demo. And I'm going to ask if anyone knows their Spotify password by heart. And then want to come and log in, and then we'll load your feed. Justin. So I implemented Spotify OAuth so that I can have a user talk directly to Spotify and then authorize my app to fetch data from their user account. So when the user logs in, it fetches all their artists that they follow and puts them in my app, and it loads a news feed customized to each artist with Spotify tracks, Spotify albums, and YouTube videos organized by date, most recent first. And then click on the photo. There's more that happens. There's external links that I'm web scraping to get those external links for each artist. So if you click on Frank Ocean SoundCloud, click on Post Malone's Twitter, it'll go to his Twitter. Click on his Wikipedia, it'll go to his Wikipedia. Since I'm web scraping, it's not always perfect. And you can also search for any artists you want. Who has an example of an artist they'd like to check out? So It looks like Lady Gaga released a new track 2 months ago, released a video a year ago. See all the external links there, genres, and how many followers she has. And you can follow her and add her to your feed. And that's important because I'm pulling from Spotify right now, but in the future you'll be able to follow any artist that doesn't have presence on Spotify. So my database would be entirely its own thing. So we can skip the video because everything works. Awesome. So to make this all happen, I implemented the Grand Stack, technology stack in this app. Grand stands for GraphQL, React, Apollo, and Neo4j database. And so all these things work together because of GraphQL. GraphQL is a specific query language that Apollo knows how to handle GraphQL queries both on the front and back end. And then Neo4j, you can talk to Neo4j with GraphQL as well because Neo4j is a graph database. And here's an example. Here's my schema of the Neo4j database. And this is kind of different, but kind of similar to Postgres in that you have like these persons, these users can follow artists, and artists can have links, and they can have news, and so these represent what would be tables in a Postgres database, but they're represented as their own node in Neo4j. And then also in Postgres, these relationships of has read and follows would be represented by a join table in SQL. But in Neo4j, these relationships are basically the highlight of the database, and they have their own IDs, and they have their own, they're basically their own node in Neo4j. And that makes querying the database much faster. I've heard. It doesn't really matter for my app right now. But when you get to big databases, it can be way faster than Postgres. And it makes it easier to make sense of doing data science, apparently, for working with relationships in the database. And here's a code example of when each artist card loads, and it's fetching the news for each artist. So when you're searching for an artist, it searches that name on Spotify, returns the artist ID, and then it passes the artist ID into these functions, and then searches YouTube for that artist's name, and then it filters all the albums that come back for single and takes out any album that's a single because that would also be a track on Spotify, and so it would be a duplicate. And then Concat merges all these three arrays that come back together. It merges all the data together. And then I'm using sort to sort by release date and make it so that every news feed has the most recent release date at the top. So I really learned the power of higher order functions when I was working with all this data. Here's another example of a higher order function map to map through the data that's returned from YouTube and then normalize it to the data structure that I wanted. So YouTube had different nested pieces of data, and I'm just pulling those into a simpler data structure that my front end can work with easier and I can understand easier. And here's a GraphQL code snippet. And so the nice thing about GraphQL is that since it talks the same language from front to back, you can you can use this on the front end to query the database, query your server, which queries the database, and you can specify that it returns all the data in a certain object format, and anything that it doesn't come up with will just return null. So it's easy to code the front end to account for those variables instead of getting sometimes random data back that the front end doesn't understand that will crash it. You know that you're going to get a null. You can just say if null, do this. And so that data structure is what renders that along with a bunch of React stuff. So the challenges in this project was implementing a bunch of new tech after I just learned a bunch of new tech, and using Spotify OAuth and interacting with multiple APIs, multiple real-time data sources, and web scraping as well along with that, and then CSS styling took a long time. Future features, I am going to implement SoundCloud, and fortunately they have their API shut down right now, so you can't get an API key. So if anyone knows anyone who has one, let me know, because I really want it. And I want to implement events as well, and more web scraping and better filtering of data. Thank you. Any questions?
So you were saying that Apollo and Neo4j were kind of dependent on graphQL, or was it the opposite? Basically, how did you decide that you wanted to use them? Did you decide on graphQL first, or why?
I decided on Neo4j first. Yeah, SQL didn't make a lot of sense to me for representing data, especially the type of data that I want to represent in this project and in my capstone project coming up. Just having a visual representation that's color-coded was really nice to start out with. And then all the other features of the relationships and how those are shown, and how it's a web of data, it just makes more sense to me in terms of like how the natural world is structured and how my brain thinks about data. So that's why I chose that, and then that went along with GraphQL and Apollo. So
What about patience as well?
yeah.
What made you pass that?
Well, Steven, our former TA, he at DevWeek conference, he went to a talk about the Grand Stack, told me a little bit about it, and sent me a presentation about it. So I was just interested in it, and so when I did more research on it, it made sense and it seemed easy to work with all the data that I was trying to work with. It was way harder than I expected, because they made it seem so great in the marketing materials. But once you learn it, it is really great, and I can see all the bigger, more powerful things that it can do.
So you didn't just learn this in 2 weeks. You've been looking at it for a while, right?
No, I just learned it in 2 weeks.
Did you sleep?
Yeah. I don't know. It took persistence, a lot of persistence.
Do you use any tools to do web scraping, or what did you?
Yeah, I use Puppeteer, which is a JavaScript web scraping program, and you download, you npm install Puppeteer, and it installs Chromium at the same time. They work together, and so basically when it's web scraping, it takes the artist name that you search for, or that your Spotify feed is bringing up, and it contacts the Music Brains API, which is a different artist database, finds a list of artists that match that search term, and then I filter those results by a search term that matches 100%, because they have a score of how much it matches on MusicBrainz to your search. So I just take that one, and then that one artist had, then I have the ID for that artist, and then I put that into the web scraper. It opens MusicBrainz, and luckily every single one of their pages has exactly the same format, so that I can target what the URLs are and pull those in. And if they update, it's pulling it in real time. So it's a little slower that way, but it's always up to date.
All right, let's give one more round of applause. The live stream. Thank you everybody for watching. Thank you for your attention. I hope you've enjoyed all these amazing projects. And again, we're just so proud, so humbled by all the incredible work that we've seen here today. So thank you so much for being here to witness it.